Thank you. Well, we all love to have a wonderful experience while attending an online webinar. And in order to do so, I would propose a few ground rules to be followed and adhered to throughout the session. Kindly keep your microphones muted all the time during the session. You may pose your questions to the speaker only during the question and answer time, which is at the end of the session. Please use the raise hand icon in the Zoom to indicate that you want to raise any clarification or ask questions. During the session, if you require any clarifications, please post them in the Zoom chat box and the speaker or myself will respond. Please switch off your videos to conserve bandwidth and ensure that you are listening to this webinar from a very silent and noiseless environment. Thank you very much. Well, our company, Top League Training and Business Consultings Private Limited, offers a platform where we invite our program participants to share the knowledge and expertise with a wider community. Now, we call this in Latin as participes tu scientia, meaning share your knowledge. Now, you may be aware from the WhatsApp groups, the information in the WhatsApp groups, we are moving into or changing this participes tu scientia or evolving this platform into a different level, where we are encouraging, not only encouraging more resource people to come and utilize this platform, we are also offering a very competitive environment, a competitive platform where they can come, benchmark their performances as what they have now, and also aim to improve even further. And by doing so, they have a gamut of wonderful rewards awaiting them. And in order to have a judgment on the performances, we have established a judgment panel, and we have established the other support and resource panel as well. So these are the information you might have been already aware from the information in the WhatsApp groups. But having said that, this today is the first day of this quarter in 2021. And in this day, we start this program initiative. And with all your support and patronage, we are very sure that we will have a wonderful, successful program by the end of the quarter and continue forward even further. Having said that, it's very important that entire program need to be given a proper leadership and a sponsorship. And the managing director of Top League Training and Business Consulting, Mr. Arun Subramaniam, has taken the onus of providing that sponsorship. And for that, he is going to provide his programs, world-class programs for international audience on at least six programs in a quarter. And these programs are done on a pay what you want to pay basis, meaning you will be registering and joining the program, but however, the payment that you make, there is no minimum payment requirement. So friends, I request you all to come forward, join this program, and this entire initiative is by you and for you. Let's have that understanding, and then we will make sure that this initiative becomes very successful. Now, friends, let me go ahead with the evening program. That just wanted to offer a few notes on the evening program today. Today we are having with us Mr. Ravi Shankar Krishnan, who will take us through a very interesting and pertinent topic, employee engagement and retentions. Organizations are continually challenged to identify ways to improve their employee engagement. While changes in benefits, rewards, and compensation are often considered the best solutions, engagement results seldom reflect significant improvement. Thus, the problem persists and the organizations are not achieving the potential for enhanced engagement and retention. A unique introductory seminar covering global research findings of Harrison assessments on scientific processes for measuring intrinsic behavioral factors that drive individual engagement, identifying gaps between employee expectations and motivations, facilitate essential dialogue between employee and the manager, foster a shared responsibility for engagement, and create a culture of engagement in the organization. So this is the context on which this 2-hour program is based on which. And before we would like to go ahead, I would like to share a few lines on as an introduction on our speaker, Mr. Ravi Shankar today. Mr. Ravi Shankar is the principal architect on behavior and performance optimization. He is the solutions partner for Harrison Assessments India. Mr. Ravi Shankar is an accomplished HR professional with over 35 years of corporate, Indian, and international working and consulting experiences, be it in US, Middle East, Africa, and Europe, in core HR, organization development, training, and industrial relations functional area. His experiences are spread across manufacturing, IT, ITES, KPO, BPO sectors, trading, hospitality, medical and pharma industries. Mr. Ravi Shankar is a certified licensed practitioner of NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, from Richard Bandler, Society of NLP USA and NLP International UK. Certified coach in leadership, public speaking, and behavioral skills from the Institute of MILT, Associate of Dale Carnegie Institute, US. Trainer in peak performance and optimization skills from US Tony Robbins Master University. Certified debriefer, assessor, and coach from Harrison Assessments on International. He's certified in competency mapping profiling techniques from Albert Institute, Albert Management Institute, and consultants from Netherlands. He's a trainer in publics, personal service quality, customer relations, customer service skills. Also, he's a trained in accelerated program management skills with Sheeta Learning USA. He has designed and executed several training HRD projects, interventions for overseas corporate client companies in US, Africa, and Middle East. From an international exposure and achievement standpoint, Mr. Ravi Shankar has traveled widely abroad to US, Europe, and Far Eastern countries for participation in international symposia, training workshops, conferences, and presented multiple papers on industrial relations, personal management, and HRD subjects. He has toured Japan to study emerging trends in human resources development and quality of life, work life in Japanese industries. Has been the sole delegate representing the Organization of Indian Employers in ILO workshop in Asian and European collective bargaining practices that was held in Turin and Brussels. Mr. Ravi Shankar is also a corporate member of National Institute of Personnel Management and a member of National HRD Network. He is a life member of Indian Society for Training and Development. I'm immensely happy in inviting Mr. Ravi Shankar Krishnan to deliver his greatly anticipated session for this evening today. Good evening, Mr. Ravi Shankar, and welcome you. The stage is all yours. Please take over.
Thank you, Mohan, for the wonderful introduction. Good evening to all participants who are here today with regard to this interesting seminar, the webinar on the subject engagement and retention analysis. I'm going to actually share with you some very interesting findings, very interesting research findings of Harrison Assessments, whom I represent, on the subject of employee engagement and retention. Mohan, is the slide visible clearly?
Yes, Mr. Ravi Shankar, it is very
Thank
clear.
you. Thanks a lot. So the interesting thing is today with the pandemic situation for the last more than 1 year, all of us are struggling to find the rhythm. Reason one, we are working in a different atmosphere, working from home. Secondly, in spite of all the constraints, some people a small percentage of the people are required to work from the office, notwithstanding the inconvenience they are facing for commuting to the office and taking all the COVID precautions. With this scenario, the most important challenge for every employer, for every manager, is how do I keep my employees engaged? How do I keep them committed? How do I get the optimum productivity and performance from every individual employee, notwithstanding whether they are working from the home or they are working from the office? This is the biggest challenge. Working from home has got its own challenge, like working from office has got a different type of challenge. Okay. In the office working environment, you have certain advantages, plus also you have certain other challenges. Similarly, working from home has got number of advantages and also number of challenges. So how do you keep the employee engaged? What are the critical factors for focus when it comes to employee engagement? How do a manager optimize business results? How does an employer understand whether most or all the employees in the organization are engaged to provide the best possible output and the best possible performance levels? Especially with the pandemic, the challenges are much more from a customer angle and also from the angle of ensuring viability of the organization, because most of us are aware that across the globe, number of business houses have closed. Small, medium, large, many of them have closed. Some of the biggest airlines have closed. Not able to sustain, not able to withstand the challenges posed by the pandemic, and also not able to sustain the employees' engagement level and motivation levels. So with this scenario, I'm trying to share with you some of the most interesting research findings of Harrison Assessments. A research which was done on the subject of employee engagement to find out what are the key factors which engages an employee and what are the key factors which motivates an employee to give his best or to give our best. So that's going to be the focus of the session. So wherever you feel that you have any specific questions to ask, kindly make a note of it, or you can put it in the chat box. And during the presentation, I'm trying to, actually, I'm going to be asking a few very interesting questions to the participants. And when I raise a question, I would request my co-host Mohan to sort of unmute the mic of the people who would like to say something in response to my question. You can wave your hand, and then Mr. Mohan will be able to give you an option to speak. Okay, having said this, I would like you to understand that we are trying to look at how to optimize engagement of your multi-generational workforce, whether you're working in India, whether you're working in any overseas country, whether your company has offices in India or outside India, it doesn't matter. Engagement becomes a common factor. Unless people are engaged, unless your human resources are engaged, you are not going to get the best out of the people. And when you don't get best out of the people, the probability of the company succeeding, sustaining its viability is going to be a big challenge. Now, let me quickly share with you a very interesting video on what really happens to all of us throughout the day. Today, there is a slight difference. Some of you are going to the office. Many of you are not going to the office. But notwithstanding that, we go through these pressures in our day-to-day work. Let's take a look at this humorous video on the 11 stages of your work every day. Okay, I'm sure all of us are going through these specific emotional encounters, maybe in the office, while going to the office, or in the pandemic situation. Many of us are facing similar challenges at home also. Now, the very important message I would like to give is engagement of your human resources becomes a very, very easy cakewalk subject, provided you are able to hire people based on passion for work. I repeat, when you are able to hire the people based on the level of passion and enjoyment to the specific job role for which you are going to be engaging them, you are bound to have a higher level of engagement. It is not what you can do, but it is what you want and will do that determines your engagement and performance levels, the success on the job. A 5 times Olympics high jump champion, he was asked a very interesting question. How did you manage to win every time, setting a record in the Olympics high jump competition? His answer was spontaneous, and it was very interesting. And to me, his answer represents a complete engagement in the sport of high jump. He replied like this. He said, every time I have to cross the pole to win the competition, every time I have to cross the pole, I throw my heart across the pole and my body follows. I throw my heart across the pole and my body follows. That was the simple answer. And to me, that reflects a complete passion for the sport of high jump. We always say to our clients, this is one of the mantras of Harrison Assessments. Never hire your people based on eligibility factors and fire them for suitability. And mind you, eligibility is all about technical skills, and suitability is all about the enjoyment of a person for the job role for which he is getting selected. Suitability is all about behavior. It is all about attitude. It is all about how much passion and enjoyment you are able to reflect on the job for which you are getting hired. Eligibility and suitability put together leads to engagement. So the job of engaging your employees at the optimum level becomes a very easy job, provided you have done your homework in hiring the right people for the right job, taking one of the most crucial factors into account, which is suitability factors, which is nothing but the behavior, the attitude, and the enjoyment level the person has got for the job. When people don't perform, I repeat, and it's a worthwhile mantra to be noted down. When people don't perform, don't fire them. Instead, put fire under them. What does it mean? It simply means only one thing. Inspire your people to perform. Engage your people to perform. Find out what is preventing them to perform and accordingly fill that gap. And that is nothing but engaging your employees. Having said this, I'm going to show you two very important videos, very small videos. This is a situation of loading the luggage in the airport into the aircraft or removing the luggage from the aircraft and putting it into the luggage van, take it to the conveyors. I'm going to show you two videos, and at the end of the video, I request Mohan to unmute the mics of the people for answering the question which I'm going to be raising. This is a very interesting video, and I want you to watch it very closely, very carefully. Don't lose your focus. Only then you can find out what exactly is happening there. And mind you, the last parcel which was thrown into the luggage van was a fragile parcel. You could see that red sticker on top of that parcel. Okay, so let's see the second video.
皆様お待たせいたしました。ただいまドアが開きました。お出口は前方左手1箇所でございます。お忘れ物のないようにお降りください。本日のご搭乗誠にありがとうございました。
Okay, now let me quickly ask you what exactly is the observation you have from both the videos. Any participant can give me a response. I would request Mohan to quickly unmute the mic for a few minutes or even few seconds, and then let's get the response quickly.
May Mr. Ravi Shankar, good evening.
Good
Anantha
evening.
Krishnan.
Yes.
Yeah, both videos were showing about the almost unloading the baggages.
Yeah.
The first one, the way the fellow throws things that it looks he's a totally a disengaged employee. Whereas the second one was professionally trained and committed people who takes utmost care, even segregating, identifying. You could see a clear difference in the working attitude. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other feedback, please, quickly?
Yes. Tulsi Babu.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. As Mr. Anantha Krishnan said, the first person, very careless attitude, the way he threw the fragile one, maybe some frame or so, it might have got broken also. And the second one, very professional and segregating and very clean way of placing, and it's a perfect job. He enjoyed the job and a sincere job he did. First person, just he has to pass his time, he has to get the salary. So he is doing his job irresponsibly.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Does anyone
The
different feedback?
sir,
Anyone
this
has a
is
different
M.
feedback?
Chidambaram. Sir, this is M. Chidambaram.
Yeah.
The second one was treating the baggage as though he was handling the customers like people. He
Wonderful.
handled them so carefully. The first one
Wonderful.
was just as though he was handling some waste.
Maybe the first one was behaving as if he was handling some garbage.
Yes.
Okay,
That's what I said, sir.
Mr. Krishnan,
That's what I said.
one observation what I saw was
please.
the difference with the employer per se,
Yeah.
because the second video, all the employees were neatly dressed. They have a
Wonderful.
dress code. Sometimes when you get into that mode, whatever your mood, it also get changed to
Yeah.
you to get into the groove. Where in the
Wonderful.
first video, the employees were like not always dressed in the right manner, which also could be a factor. Thank you.
Yes.
Wonderful. Excellent observation. Excellent observation. Now, let me share with you one more very interesting aspect. The reason why you could see the first set of people not being engaged, being very callous, being very reckless in their way of loading the luggages, including the fragile ones, and the second set of people doing everything very professionally with a lot of engagement, care, and involvement. The reason is very simple. As rightly said by all of you, one is they were enjoying the job. The second set of people were really enjoying the job and they are made for the job. Number one. Number two, they knew the purpose behind what they are doing. This is a very, very important aspect. Engagement comes only when you have a passion and you are able to know the purpose behind what you are doing. If I have to give you a simple example, 3 people are cutting stones and a professor of economics was walking that side. He asked the first guy, "What are you doing?" The first guy angrily replied, "Don't you see what I am doing? I am breaking the stones in the hot sun." The professor was very unhappy with the answer. He went to the second person and asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "I work in this particular place for 12 hours a day. I break the stones, I cut them into different shapes, and they pay me about 200 rupees per day, and I use that money to feed my family." The professor went to the third stone cutter and asked him, "What is that you are doing?" The third stone cutter gave a very interesting answer. He said, "I am preparing the stones for building a beautiful temple." My quick question to all of you is, which of these 3 stone cutters you will be employing or willing to employ in case you have a similar operations? Unmute the mic, please.
Naturally,
third
the
one,
third
sir.
person.
The third
Obviously,
one.
the third one. Everyone will go for the third one. And the reason is again very simple. The third one was not only enjoying the job, but he knew the purpose behind what he was doing. The first one was doing the job because he could not get any other job. If he gets a better job, he will run away. The second guy was actually doing it for money, not for enjoyment. Again, he will also run away if he is getting a slightly higher income per day. The third guy, you can take it certain that he is going to be long-lasting employee, doing the job with a lot of enjoyment, passion, and knowing the purpose behind what he is doing. So, gentlemen and ladies, please remember these 3 key words: passion, purpose, enjoyment. These 3, if it is combined in a person, you are going to get the best out of your people. Now, the interesting question is, how do you find out that a person has got a passion for the job for which you are hiring him? or for the job for which you are promoting him? How do you know whether all your employees are enjoying what they are doing? How do you know whether they know the purpose behind what they are doing? How do you know whether they are fully committed or not committed? Today, with artificial intelligence, tools like what we actually use for our clients, Harrison Assessment Tool, which is called the HATS, Harrison Assessment Talent Solutions, HATS, you can in less than 30 minutes find out the enjoyment level of your employee, the commitment level of your employee, what are their expectations? Are these expectations being met? Are they really exhibiting the supporting behaviors which are required for meeting those wants? And last but not the least, how productive are they in their roles? Everything you can find out through a simple online artificial intelligence based assessment, which can provide you all this data with an analytics and help you to make sure that if there are gaps in the engagement of your employees, you can quickly address those gaps. Having said this, there is a common saying that when you're fully engaged, you don't work even for a single day. How true is this? In fact, I personally feel all those champions we have come across, whether it's a Sachin Tendulkar or whether it is a singer SP Balasubramaniam, or it is one of those famous golf players, Tiger Woods, or it could be any other personality. You take the person who has really hit the sky, who has really had the biggest success in their careers, you will see that one of the reasons is, one of the most important reasons is they have been fully engaged in what they have been doing, which means they had a passion for what they were doing. And they never even realized they are working for a single day. They were enjoying every second of their work. And another very important thing, engagement has got a very close relationship with the boss. I repeat, engagement has a very close relationship with the boss or the leadership. See, in life, you don't get two specific possibilities. One is you cannot predict your date of birth. Two, you cannot predict your date of expiry. Three, which is the most important, is you cannot predict your boss. Who is going to be your boss? Okay. If you're lucky, you get a good boss. If you're not lucky, there is always a challenge in working with bosses, aligning to their style, meeting their expectations. I think most of us have gone through this in our career. Some of us have been lucky in some part of our career, and many of us, I personally, I've seen people who have not been lucky, who have not been able to get the right boss. There is a behavioral trait in each one of us. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this. I'm now going to use a psychometric terminology, which is called the trait, TRAIT.
Can I make an observation?
Please, please.
In the two videos which you showed, you see there are certain jobs which are kind of physical or labor oriented, okay?
Absolutely.
And they are absolutely routine jobs. So there can be no enjoyment in such jobs.
I'll come to that.
Only jobs.
Wonderful point. You finish your point. I'll give you the reason for that.
Yeah, only jobs, you know, where you have something new, or where you are experimenting, or where you are inventing something new, you could be enjoying those kind of jobs. But these kind of jobs more related to your attitude and your commitment rather than the enjoyment. I mean, that's the observation I wanted to make.
Wonderful. Let me share with you. I think you brought out a very wonderful point relevant to what I'm going to say. There are traits in a person, in a human being, there are multiple traits. Okay. And in Harrison, we measure in less than 30 minutes about 175 traits in a person. I'm not exaggerating. In less than 30 minutes through an online assessment, we measure about 175 behavioral traits and factors in a person. There are 3 specific traits, 2 relevant to the specific video I showed you. There is a trait called repetitive. There is a trait called repetitive. I want you to keep this in mind. There is a trait called physical work. There is a trait called working with your hands. Okay? There is a trait called physical work. There is a trait called working with your hands. There is also a specific factor which is called standing for a long time. Okay? So these traits, if you don't assess these traits in a person and you start engaging people for a loading job like that video which you have seen just now, you are going to get only people who are not going to be enjoying what they're doing. The moment you start assessing the people's traits relevant to the particular job of loading, which I just narrated, you are going to get the best possible fit. And accordingly, you will see a difference in the way they handle the luggage, difference in the way they load the luggage, difference in the way they unload the luggage. Similarly, when it comes to leadership and also your own boss, please remember, people don't quit jobs. People always quit their managers. This is a very common phenomena in any type of industry. Every industry you go, you will see this. When the boss leaves, and if the person has had an excellent alignment with the boss, you will see many of the team members leaving sooner or later. This is very common in certain types of industries, but mostly a common phenomena in every type of industry. So people don't quit jobs, but they quit managers. And there is a trait in all of us. I want you to remember this trait. It is called wants capable leader. You can measure what is the level of this trait in each person in less than 30 minutes. Through that assessment, you can measure 175 factors, and out of that, one of the factors we measure is what is the score you have on the trait called wants capable leader. If you have got a very high score, let's say 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, you will have always difficulty in aligning to different types of bosses. Unless the boss fits into your definition, it is very difficult for you to align with the person and give your best. But when your score on wants capable leader is very low, let's say it is a 2 or 3, you may not be really choosy about your boss, and you may end up managing to work with different types of bosses. One of the biggest reasons for attrition in a corporate world is mismatch of the style with the boss. That causes the biggest attrition in most of the corporate situation. So keep this in mind. People don't quit jobs, but they quit managers, and people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. This is one of the best sayings I have ever come across. People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. The more you are going to be caring to your people, the more you are going to be empathetic to your people, warm to your people, in anything and everything which you do with them. I'm not saying that you should be a goody-goody manager. I'm saying that if you are able to blend warmth and empathy, if you are able to be helpful to your people, at the same time enforcing what is to be enforced, you are definite that people under such a leader is going to perform at an optimum level. They are going to be really engaged, and they are going to be performing at an optimum level. Having said this, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of corporate engagement and retention scenario. Unilever did a survey very recently, and they found out, they wanted to really find out what are the most critical factors for employee engagement and retention. And they really got to know through the survey of nearly several thousand employees they came to a conclusion there are 10 important factors which matters for employee engagement and retention. Can you imagine what would have been the first factor? I want the mics to be unmuted, please.
Can I, Mr. Ravi Shankar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this already heard of it, that the first thing what the employee likes is that the company needs him. I'm wanted in the company.
Wonderful. I think you have heard my sharing this example in the past webinar. This is one of the most critical reasons, which was the findings from the survey. The feeling of being wanted, the feeling of being wanted in the company. The second very important requirement or expectation was nearness to top management. Nearness to top management. Lever being a very big company, it is very difficult for you to even know who is heading the organization. And when you are nearer to the top management, that is one of the reasons which was showing up as important reasons for employee engagement and retention.
Let me share one more.
Yeah, the third very important thing was in the list of findings was the liberty to try out new things, fail, and still not be punished. I repeat, the liberty to try out new things, fail, and still not be punished. That was the third very important expectation, which was attracting people, making them more engaged and stay in an organization for a long time. And money or salary was the 8th factor out of the 10 factors. You wanted to say something? Kindly go ahead.
The employee should feel an asset to the company.
He should feel an asset to the company. That is nothing but the feeling of being wanted in the organization. The moment you enter your department or your office, there must be a feeling that, yes, I am wanted in this place. I'm not too sure how many people get this feel. Not too many, right? So that is one of the reasons which affects your engagement level and your involvement level and your commitment levels. The second very important thing which I would like to quote is about an automobile group in South India. Now, they had a very peculiar problem. The problem was people at a very senior level, at the level of vice president, that level of people who are reporting directly to the chief executive officer of the company, who is the chairman of the company, they were normally found to be quitting the job within a matter of 12 to 18 months. You can imagine the challenge this company must have been facing. If they had about 6 to 7 vice presidents, constantly there was a turnover. Every vice president mostly stayed in the company for not more than 18 months. This was the biggest challenge this company was facing. They did not know what to do. And they had, luckily, a psychologist in their panel, a doctor who was a psychiatrist and who was doing a lot of consulting work for corporate companies. He was there in the company's panel. So he came up with a very interesting idea. He said to the chief executive, I'm going to assess and find out what is your style of working in this company. Okay, you are the founder of this organization. You have been the chairman of this company. And I need to really understand, if I have to solve this problem of attrition at very senior level, I need to find out what is your style of working. So the chairman was quite willing. He said, okay, I have no problem in submitting myself to the psychometric assessment. So he submitted himself to the psychometric assessment. And then this doctor designed a very interesting questionnaire. And he came up with the findings of what is the style of this particular CEO's working in the organization. And then he said, now I have benchmarked your entire style of working, your style of leadership. I have benchmarked it. Now, I'm going to, from now on, every time you're going to hire a vice president level person, I'm going to assess them and find out, even before you give them an offer of appointment, I'm going to find out what style of working they are going to be exhibiting in this company. My job is very simple. As a psychiatrist or a psychologist, I will have to quickly check and find out whether their style is going to match with that of your style as a CEO. And if it is not going to match, I'm going to tell you upfront, even before you bring them on board. I'm going to tell you these are areas in which there can be frictions, there can be challenges, there can be problems because of the mismatch in the style. So as long you, let me complete, as long as you as a CEO is willing to be flexible in your approach, you are willing to show some alignment with that of the vice president whom you are hiring, things can be managed. But if you are not able to be flexible in your approach, which means the alignment is not going to come between your style and the vice president's style whom you're hiring, things can go hayway and you may have an attrition. And you won't believe, this particular company finally decided that they will adopt this process which the panel member psychiatrist was suggesting, and they could stop the attrition happening within exactly 2 to 3 years. They could see that things were falling in place. There was a lot of alignment which was coming, and ultimately they were able to understand, because of this specific assessment as to how a person is going to be behaving when he is coming on board and what type of behavior will really help to match this person's expectations or tendencies. So this is a real incident. This is a real happening which I'm trying to quote. It happened in one of the South Indian companies. The other example which I wanted to quote is there is a lot of things which are happening in America for getting people engaged and getting people more committed to the organization. They don't allow any person. As you all know, in America, there is no age limit. There is no retirement age. For most of the jobs, the only criteria is you should be physically and mentally fit and you should be contributing to the bottom line. As long as this is there, your job is safe and secure. Henry Ford Hospital is one of the biggest establishments in America, headquartered in Detroit, Michigan. And they normally have a very interesting approach to doctors, because doctors are the backbones of hospital industry. And in Henry Ford, they go out of the way to engage a doctor for a long-term relationship with the hospital. If the doctor is contributing to a great extent, he's really contributing to the image of the hospital, and with a quality treatment being meted out to the patients, and he is able to ensure that he is an ambassador to the hospital, they will go out of the way to make sure that they do anything for this doctor in order to make him stay in the organization. Now, one of the doctors who has put in 45 years of service, who was a kidney specialist, was planning to retire from the hospital. This again is a real story and happening in America. Because of my visits to US, I have the probability and possibilities for interacting with number of clients. And one of the things which I came to know was this particular incident. And this doctor, after 45 years of service as a chief of nephrology, he was about to retire from the organization. Now, the interesting thing which happened was, when he went and said to the chairman of the hospital that he wants to retire, the chairman said, why you want to retire? So the doctor gave a very interesting answer. He said, see, I have worked for nearly 45 years, and mind you, this doctor was working in Henry Ford for 45 years. That means that was his first job, and he never looked at changing his job to any other hospital. And he was one of the top nephrologists, really having the reputation in the line. So the chairman asked him, why do you want to leave? So the doctor replied, very humbly, he said, no, my children have grown up, they are married, and I have now grandchildren. So there is a lot of time I need to spend with them. I think I had a long innings and that's good enough. So I need to now pay attention to my family and spend a lot of quality time with my children as well as my grandchildren. So the chairman gave a very spontaneous response. He said, is this the reason for which you are wanting to retire? The doctor said, yes. And the chairman said, you don't have to retire for this reason. So the doctor said, what do you mean? Chairman asked him a question. How many days in a month you want to spend with your children and grandchildren? This is a real incident I'm quoting. And the doctor replied by saying, at least 15 days in a month. So the chairman said, from tomorrow, you're going to work for 15 days in a month. Is that fine with you? The remaining 15 days, we will not even disturb you for any specific requirement. The reason why the chairman gave this offer is of the contribution this doctor was making, the engagement level of the doctor with the patients, and the type of reputation he was bringing to the hospital for nearly 45 years. And the doctor said, one more reason which prompted me to retire was I thought I had a passion for teaching, so I would like to pursue that particular activity. So the chairman said that expectation is also going to be met. For the 15 days you're going to come to the hospital, X number of hours you can devote to teaching new doctors who are joining our hospital in the nephrology department. Thereby, your expertise will be extended to them and they will be growing up with a lot of knowledge and skills, and maybe in future, we will have them as leaders in the department, like what we have had the relationship with you for nearly 45 years. This was a real incident which happened in Henry Ford, which I thought I should be quoting when we are talking about engagement. Amazon, all of you are familiar. They follow a very interesting scheme called boomerang. I think most of you know what is a boomerang. It comes back to you when you throw it, right? But this scheme is a very interesting scheme. They named it very nicely as boomerang scheme. Boomerang scheme is something like, if you have had an engaged employee who has been working with Amazon for a long time and he has left the job and prefers to come back to Amazon for some reason or the other, there is no specific recruitment interview for that person. He can just walk in and join Amazon. That is the type of welcome they have for people who have been really contributing, but who had left the job for some reason or the other and who want to come back. It's called as boomerang scheme. Ford Motors has got a wonderful scheme called ESI scheme. It is not employee state insurance scheme. It is called employee satisfaction index scheme. Now, what happens in this scheme is a manager has to go through an assessment by his employees every 3 months. And out of the assessment, a data is pulled out as to how much is the satisfaction level amongst the employees with that manager. And the manager is expected to score consistently 80% and above every quarter. If for 2 quarters he is going to miss the 80% score, the consequences are not going to be easy. He will be called and there will be a lot of analysis of what is going wrong in his department and his style of leadership. So there are a number of other examples which I can keep quoting, but for want of time, I thought I will mention these specific examples. And apart from that, I thought I should share with you one more from the Indian context, which is Tata Steels. Tata Steel Jamshedpur factory, this I'm talking about a real incident which happened several years ago when Jamshedji was the chairman of Tata Steel and Rusi Modi was the director HR. Jamshedpur factory was under fire. Jamshedji Tata was in Switzerland. He was having a holiday, enjoying fishing in his yacht. The news came to him through his secretary saying, Tata Steel Jamshedpur factory is under fire. You and me, if we were the chairman of the company in that position, we would have jumped from the seat, we would have jumped from our chair, we would have got really panicky. We would have asked the secretary, please book me the next ticket by flight. I have to go back to Jamshedpur and see what's happening. You won't believe, Jamshedji did not get emotional at all. He asked his secretary only one question. The question was, oh, the Jamshedpur factory is under fire? Oh my God. Okay, fine. Is Rusi Modi available in the factory? The secretary said, yes, sir. He is under full control of the situation. Jamshedji thanked his secretary and he continued fishing. Can you believe this? My question to you is, please unmute the mic. What was the secret behind the situation? What created such a balance?
Chidambaram here.
Yeah.
He had, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
He had absolute faith in the potential and problem-solving issues of Rusi Modi.
Wonderful. Can we use the word that he had the highest level of trust in Rusi?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that comes, trust comes only when you see that people are engaged. Okay. This is a real incident quoted by Modi in his books, right? This is the scenario. This is actually what is called engagement. The only question he asked is Rusi available in the factory? And then he said, thank you, you can go. And he continued fishing. That is called the trust level of an employer on an employee. And that comes because the engagement level of that person is so high that he's not going to be sleeping. He is going to be taking much more care than the chairman of the organization when such a situation is happening. Having said this, I want all of you to look at this particular slide, which is one of the theories on which Harrison assessment operates. It's called the enjoyment performance theory. The 4 key words which are given here: enjoy, repeat, improve, get feedback, and again enjoy. By research, it has been found out that when somebody is going to be enjoying his job, his role, at least to the extent of 75% and above, the person is going to be at least 3 to 4 times more productive than a normal person. This has been proved by research. So one of the strong recommendations which we have is always engage, always employ, always hire people or promote people who are highly enjoying their job. A minimum 75% enjoyment should be there in order to get the optimum engagement from the employee for any given role. This is the research finding, and you can find out whether an employee is engaged, whether an employee is enjoying his job role to the minimum extent of 75%, or he is having a lesser enjoyment level. You can quickly find out through the online scientific assessment. It takes less than 30 minutes. You can assess the existing employees to find out how many of them are engaged, how many of them are really enjoying their job, and how many of them are not enjoying their job. Because of that, they are completely disengaged. Okay. Very interestingly, Harrison brought out a specific tool, a report rather, I would say, for understanding the employee engagement level. I want all of you to understand one very important message which I'm trying to give, maybe worthwhile remembering. The performance always comes from passion. I want you to remember this. Performance always comes from passion and not from pressure. Gone are the days when you can take a stick and get people to do what you are expecting them to do. And today, with this scenario, pandemic scenario, when you have absolutely the employee is out of sight, he is working from home, you don't even know what is that he is doing, right? And there is a big challenge in understanding, is he productive at home? Is he contributing to the expected level? Okay, all these things are becoming a big challenge, and that's going to be the rule of the day. This remote working is not going to be away. It's going to stay with us. Please take it that even if COVID runs away, remote working is going to stay in most of the companies, because companies have realized one thing. It saves a lot of cost. It saves a lot of energy. It saves a lot of time traveling. And last but not the least, they've seen you can get more productivity if only you know how to analyze and manage remote working. So please remember, performance always comes from passion and not from pressure. Many of the companies, many of your organizations, I'm sure in this group of participants, there are some people who are managers and there are some people who are running their own offices, managing their own people. And there are some people who are from bigger organizations, the major corporations, apart from people from SMEs. Every company has specifically a focus on employee engagement surveys. Not all companies do it, but there are many companies who do it. Okay, and those companies who are doing it, they face some very interesting challenge on employee engagement. So when they go for a survey, they really want to find out what is the reason why the employees are not fully engaged. How many of them are engaged? How many of them are not engaged? If they are not engaged, what is causing this disengagement? That's the whole purpose of a survey. Okay, now I want you to look at this particular specific finding. When high levels of employee engagements are achieved, an organization can expect increased performance, dedication, and productivity on behalf of its workforce. That is possible only when the level of engagement is on the higher side. Studies at a number of organizations, including leading academic institutions, not only the corporates, have shown that there is a clear relationship between high levels of employee engagement. When we say high levels of engagement, what does it mean? It simply means those people with high levels of engagement are willing to go an extra mile. This is a very important point. When a person is engaged, you will obviously see that he is willing to go an extra mile in order to meet the financial and operational goals and results of the company. That is the simple magic of having engaged people in your company. In fact, I was going for one training program with one of the big manufacturing companies in South India. And when I was entering the factory, I was already late by 25 minutes for the training program. You won't believe, at the entrance of the security gate, there is a procedure where you will be required to get down, sign the register, give your name, phone number, inform whether you are carrying a laptop, mobile, and also they will take a photograph of yours and they'll give you a pass for visitor. And with that only you can enter. When I was entering the gate, I was already late by 25 minutes because I got caught in a traffic jam. And there was a security guard, an ordinary security guard, not even an officer. He came running to me and he asked me, what is my name? I said, Ravi Shankar. And then he said, have you come for the training? I said, yes. So he said, you are already late by 25 minutes. I was shocked when a security guard said this to me. I was wondering, how come this guy knows that I'm coming for training? And second thing, he knows the training program, at what time it is going to start. And third very important thing, he knows that I'm late. And he told me one more interesting thing. He said, Ravi Shankar, you don't have to waste time completing the formalities of security. Please go to the training hall. I will come along with you to the training hall to make sure that you know the directions, because it is another 5 minutes drive from the main gate. So I will show you the direction, and I will come to the training hall along with you and make sure that you are there, reaching at the fastest time possible. And then more importantly, he said, I will complete all the visitors' formalities during the first break, first deep rain. So he came with me to the training hall. He was there in the training hall, and he completed all the formalities which are required for a visitor. So when I came after finishing the training program, I had a chat with the managing director of that factory. I told that managing director, one of the things which impressed me the most today, apart from your people who attended the training program, the leaders who attended training program, is the security guard at your gate. I gave him his name and I said, this guy is worth becoming a security officer. Such is his commitment, such is his engagement, such is his involvement, which I have not seen in people at that level. You won't believe, 3 to 4 years later, when I went to the factory for some other assignment, I could see the same security guard with a different job title, which is assistant security officer, and with a different uniform altogether, and really enjoying his job much more than what I've seen in the past. Please remember, when an employee is engaged, he is going to go an extra mile in order to meet the objectives and goals of the organization. So what is employee engagement? I want you to remember these very specific points, which are the findings of Harrison assessment. It's a psychological phenomenon. It's completely relating to the psychology of the person. No one can engage another person. If somebody says, I will come and do a training program and I will engage or make sure that your employees are getting engaged, it is a myth. No one can engage a person. It is something which has to come from within that person. It is not something which the manager or the management can give to an employee, but the employee has to earn it himself or herself. It is something to do with the passion level and excitement level or the enjoyment level of the person for a given job. That's why I said your passion and your enjoyment level directly has an alignment to the engagement level. It's something which the employee want to achieve. Only then they are engaged. If they are doing something which they really want to achieve, they are fully engaged. Each person is unique, and you need to know. That's why people's wants and goals are different. I'm sure you'll agree with me on this statement that each one of us is different and our goals and wants are different. And please remember, our goals and wants are highly individualistic. And engagement can never be achieved at a group level. You cannot conduct a survey and find out and say, okay, I'm going to introduce all these changes so that everyone will start getting engaged from tomorrow. Because a survey is usually anonymous. An engagement survey in any organization is anonymous. So it doesn't really reveal who has given what feedback. You're trying to summarize the engagement survey and you're trying to introduce some common changes, not knowing what is the individual's employee's expectation, then you are not going to be solving the problem. That's why in the beginning, in the introduction, Mohan said that usually people think that giving higher salary, higher remuneration, higher perks is going to bring more engagement. It is completely wrong. That's not going to increase your engagement level. You need to find out what are the individual wants of the employee. Only then you will be able to enhance the engagement. You will have to address the gap through a proper scientific analysis. So what is talent engagement? A talent engagement is about the extent to which an employee feels passionate about his job and he feels motivated to do his job. It's nothing but a situation where the employee is able to effectively align and work with his supervisor, his manager, and his team in order to achieve the organizational objectives. It is a situation where the employee is highly committed and believes and works totally committed towards the mission of the organization. When all these things are present, you can very safely presume that your employees, your talents are fully engaged. Having said this, engagement is not a very easy thing to achieve. It's basically dependent upon several factors, building blocks, as we call it, the building blocks for employee engagement. You can see the whole stuff on the screen. It is based on trust, which you build with your people. It is based on how you treat your people. It is based on envision. It is based on communication. It is based on informal networking, which is available in the organization. It is based on how much you empower your people. It is based on the collaborative, involved atmosphere in the company. It is based on whether the place is a congenial place to work in. And another very important factor is whether the person is doing a meaningful job and what type of growth possibilities are there for the person. Okay, all these factors goes to really make or even decide whether engagement of the employees are at the optimum level or not. So things like job purpose, relationship between people, the belief system in the organization, what is expected, the clarity on what is expected from people, the type of goals, both individual and organizational goals, the level of listening which happens in the working situation, and the freedom to operate. The freedom to operate, all these factors have a lot of influence on engagement. Now, I have a very interesting question to the participants. If your company has got 3 types of employees, I'm sure all of you are aware that jokingly, we normally say there are 4 types of employees in any organization. One is called a self-starter, then you have the push starter, then you have the kickstarter, and then you have the non-starter. I'm sure all of us as managers or as leaders or as employers would like to work with people who are self-starters because they are going to be more productive, more engaged. There's no 2 ways about it. Now, on the screen, you are seeing 3 types of employees: engaged employee, disengaged employee, actively disengaged employee. I want all of you to remember these 3 terminologies: engaged employee, disengaged employee, actively disengaged employee. Now, my question to all of you is, as a manager, where should be your focus?
Yeah, Mr. Krishnan. So my focus will be on
Engaged
the
employee.
actively disengaged employee, because
Okay.
they can pull the overall boat down as well. So my immediate action would be on actively disengaged.
So you will focus on actively disengaged, and you may not really be keen to focus on the other 2 categories. Can I take it like that?
I will prioritize my first one on actively disengaged. It
Wonderful.
has to be like, it should be
Wonderful.
on all 3, but my priority will be actively disengaged.
What's your good name, sir?
My name is Chandrasekhar.
Okay. Any other feedback from the participants, please? Any other feedback? Anything different from what this person, this gentleman, has said? Quickly. Any other feedback?
Probably the engaged employee,
Okay.
because he has more options and he is more interested and he can excel, help the
Okay.
organization. So I think I would focus on the engaged employee even to perform better.
Wonderful. Okay. Now I'm going to share with you what is the meaning behind these 3 types of employees. Let's take a look at the next slide. An engaged employee means he is physically, mentally, psychologically engaged in the work. I want you to remember these three key words. Physically, mentally, psychologically, he is engaged in the work. A not engaged employee is physically, mentally, psychologically absent, and he is disengaged from the work. But what about an actively disengaged employee? Very, very important. He is physically, mentally, psychologically absent and disengaged from the work. And he also intervenes with the other employees' work and actively is spreading a message of disengagement amongst the other workforce. So, as rightly said by the first gentleman, your immediate focus as a manager should always be on people who are actively disengaged, because they can vitiate the atmosphere. One black sheep can create a problem in the team. They can constantly interrupt productivity of other people, and they can bring down the engagement level of the well-engaged employees also. The first focus should be on actively disengaged, to see how I can convert them into somewhat moderately engaged employees by addressing the gaps, and then how I can move them, elevate them to the fully engaged category of employees. Keep this very important aspect in mind. Employee engagement is very important because of only one reason. There is a very close relationship between the high levels of employee engagement, which is nothing but the willingness to go an extra mile, and improvement in your financial and operational results. When higher the engagement of the employees, higher is going to be the financial and operational results. There are some statistics given here. In the United States, 29% of the employees are only engaged, and 24% are actively disengaged. I want you to look at what is the situation outside the United States. In many other countries, the engagement level is only around 13 to 15%. So you can imagine what type of productivity and performance are coming out. You'll always see in most of the companies, the smaller segment of people who are highly engaged are actually supporting in achieving the goals of the organization and sustaining the results. Low employee engagement affects bottom line. Okay, and companies with a low engagement of employees, you will see the operating margin is just around 10%. And when there is a traditional type of engagement, the higher margin level of around 14%, and companies with the highest sustainable engagement levels, of course, you will always see the operating margin is around 27+%. So these are some statistics which have been brought out by Harvard Business Review. Earlier, I shared with you the percentage of engagement level, both within US and outside US. Okay, now what is the advantage for us in case we have a very engaged workforce in our organization? Talent retention becomes easy because employees don't leave your organization. They are very much wedded to your company because they're happy doing what they're doing, and they're happy about many things which are happening to them in the organization. Their expectations are getting aligned to the organizationals. The second very important thing is organizational mission is easy to achieve when you have engaged workforce. Organizational growth and organizational profitability becomes an easy thing to achieve. Okay, and there can be exemplary service which can translate into many satisfied customers, and because of satisfied customers, you can reach a situation of customer delight, and there can be repeated sales coming out of highly engaged employees. Improved product quality is another outcome which is going to happen, and high safety rates in the industry, higher levels of revenues and greater efficiency and productivity. All these factors can be the end result of high engagement of employees in the company. Okay, having said this, I'm going to quickly share with you the challenges today most of us are facing. Most of the managers are facing. I'm sure you will not disagree with this in dealing with the Gen Y, the younger population of employees in the organization, especially managers who are from the old school, the baby boomers. These people, we have always had a challenge in dealing with the Gen Y. Now, what is the reason for the challenge? Why are we finding it difficult to engage the Gen Y population in the corporate world? It's because of two very critical reasons. I want you to focus on this slide. Environment plays a very crucial role in the different behaviors of the Gen Y population, the younger employee age group. The fault is not in them. The fault is in us in not understanding the generation gap and expectations of the Gen Y population. That's the root cause. These are the two root causes which creates a challenge in engaging the younger population, the younger age group people in the organization. I've given some very interesting features about them. I've given some abbreviations for them. FBMW is nothing but Facebook and mobile is their world. FOC is nothing but the freedom of choice. They always crave for freedom of choice. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to make the choice. They crave for identity, an independent identity for themselves. And another very interesting feature you will find in Gen Y is they are exposed to the power of internet. They are constantly on internet. And another interesting factor is high connectivity globally because of their internet exposure. Okay. And last but not the least, they want to volunteer more for different reasons rather than being forced to do something. So these are specific features or specific characteristics of the Gen Y population in the corporate world. And when we are trying to manage them or get their engagement levels at a higher plane, what's really happening is because of the misunderstanding of the generation gap and the expectations of the Gen Y, we constantly face some challenges. If you are able to understand these specific characteristics and you are able to change your style of working, you can obviously see higher engagement levels are coming from the Gen Y population. Having said this, I want you to now quickly understand how do I assess, how do I know the engagement level of my employees, and how do I handle the challenge of optimizing employee engagement levels. The first thing you need to do is focus on what the employee wants individually, not collectively. Most of the engagement surveys, you will see the focus is on collectively what the employees are wanting. And mind you, when you do a survey and the focus is on employee wants in a collective manner, it does not really produce results. Okay. And most of the surveys are focusing on only one aspect. Is the manager doing what is expected? Or is the manager not doing what is expected to optimize engagement? Secondly, it focuses on what is that the group of employees in the company are wanting, or what is that they are not happy about. And they try to make some changes based on such surveys. They try to make some sweeping changes on their HR practices, and the net result is it doesn't produce the result. The reason is very simple. As I told you earlier, employee engagement is an individual psychological phenomenon. Each person's wants are different, goals are different. So when you're trying to do a survey from a group angle and then trying to make some sweeping changes in your HR practices, it's not going to be producing higher engagement levels at the individual employee level, because individual employees' wants and expectations could be different. Second thing, in most of the surveys, you will see the individual employees are answering the questions in an anonymous manner. That means they don't put their name in the survey. They give an answer, yes or no, or they make some comments, but their names are not available in the survey. So you're not able to know which employee has what type of wants. And the manager has the biggest challenge in finding out what type of specific expectation and wants an employee has got. So that's the biggest drawback in doing a mass survey. Third very important thing is engagement comes from within the individual, and only when you have a direct one-to-one conversation with the employee, you will be able to identify what are the specific expectations of the individual employee. What makes him really committed? What makes him really motivated? That you can find out only when you have an open conversation with the employee, not otherwise. Having said this, Harrison brought out through a research this particular slide and the following slides worthwhile making some specific notes. Through the research, Harrison came to the finding that there are 8 specific factors which falls within the employee expectations. This is true across the globe. This is true in any type of industry. This is true in any type of vertical. And they also came with a very interesting approach, which is a 3-step approach for employee engagement optimization. Step number 1 is ensure that the employee's interest and enjoyment of the task to fit their current job role. So that means you need to do an analysis of your employees to find out what are their enjoyment areas and what are their specific areas of interest in order to align those areas with that of the job role. This is going to make things very easy when you do it in a scientific manner. The second step is understand and discuss the importance of various individual wants of the employee. First thing is you have to understand. Second thing is you have to discuss those wants with the specific employee in order to find out how genuine are these wants, how realistic are these wants, and most importantly, you need to find out whether the employee is exhibiting the supporting behavior. I repeat, whether the employee is exhibiting the supporting behavior which is required to meet these wants. So for every want, please remember, from the research perspective, Harrison found out that there are some supporting behaviors which are required in the employee at a higher level. When the wants are high, the supporting behavior will be high. When the wants are high and the supporting behaviors are low, achieving the wants by the employee is going to be a big challenge. It's not going to be possible. So it leads to frustration. It leads to attrition. But when the wants are high and the supporting behaviors are high, you will obviously see that getting engagement at a higher level is not difficult, provided the manager understands those wants and is able to meet those wants based on the supporting behavior exhibited by the employee. So Harrison came out with 8 employee expectation areas. You can see this on the screen. These are the specific 8 areas which were actually the findings of the research. I will show the more details of this in the next slide through a specific pie chart. You can see that there are 2 specific wants which falls under the self area. One is called personal expectations. The other one is called work-life balance expectations. Most of us have this. Some of us have this at a higher level. Some of us don't have it at a higher level. So they fall under the self dimension, personal expectations, and work-life balance expectations. I'll explain more in detail about these two. Then there is something called social expectations, appreciation expectation, authority expectation, and communication expectation. All these, if you see, it falls under the dimension others, which is nothing but what the employee is expecting from their supervisor or from their team members. And there is yet another dimension, which is called the organizational dimension, where there are specifically two expectations. One is development expectation, and there is a second one, which is remuneration expectation. And you can see some overlap which happens between the three dimensions. Organizational expectations are nothing but the specific expectations of employees from the organization in which they work. So in all, there are 8 specific expectations worthwhile remembering and making a note, starting with personal expectation, work-life balance expectation, social expectation, communication expectation, authority expectation, appreciation expectation, development expectation, remuneration expectation. If you can assess scientifically an employee to find out what is the level of expectation which the employee has in all these areas, then it is easy for you to understand the gaps, if any, in meeting those expectations. And you can also find out through the assessment what are the supporting behaviors which are required to be exhibited by the employee in order to achieve these specific expectations. As I told you, one of the interesting research findings of Harrison is not only what are the types of expectations which have to be focused to optimize employee engagement, they also came out with a very interesting finding that every expectation which you see on the screen has got a supporting behavior. And these supporting behaviors, if they are not very strong, especially when the expectations are strong, the supporting behaviors will have to be strong in the employee. Only then you can get higher engagement. Otherwise, it's not possible because the gaps will widen. Ultimately, it can lead to attrition. So these are the specific expectations which I have touched upon. There is a very brief description which is given for each of these specific expectations with which people come to work. Development expectation, appreciation expectation, communication. Communication expectation is nothing but the type of communication expectation they have, the authority to communicate certain things and express certain views. Remuneration is nothing but the level of salary, the quick reward system in the company. Appreciation is the employee getting appreciation, the desired appreciation for what they do. And development expectation is nothing but is he getting the adequate career growth. Likewise, you have various other brief descriptions on authority expectation, personal expectation, social expectation, and work-life balance. Now, there are 8 specific expectations and there are supporting behaviors for each of these expectations, which you can see from this report. Now, this is the type of report which comes out when you assess an employee. In this report, you will see for every expectations, you can see the score, at what level the person's expectation score is, and all these scores are on a 0 to 10 scale. And just below the expectation, you can see the supporting behavior score. So there is an expectation score and there is a supporting behavior score. And if both are high, then you can really safely presume that the employee is doing all that is required in order to meet the specific expectations. And you can also see for every expectation, what is the fulfillment score of the employee? What type of fulfillment score is there? Is the fulfillment score above 60%, 70%, or 80%, or is it 100%? Or it can also show you whether the fulfillment score is very low at 20% or 30% or 40%. The moment the fulfillment score on an expectation is low, you will obviously see a red color percentage score appearing on the report. And with that, you can find out what is the reason why there is low fulfillment, what is causing the low fulfillment. You can also find out whether the employee's behavior is causing the low fulfillment, or is it the manager's way of handling the employee that is causing the low fulfillment. All these can be found out, and as I told you in the beginning, in less than 30 minutes assessment. And this report is going to show you not only the scores, it is also going to show you what are you expected to do as a manager and what is that the employee is expected to do in order to optimize the engagement level. It will show a very clear analytics, a very clear analysis, depending on the score of the expectation, depending on the score of the supporting behavior, what is that which is to be done by an employee from his side or her side in order to optimize engagement. And it will also show the manager what is that the manager is expected to do in order to bridge the gap between the expectation and the fulfillment. Having said this, HA assessment can bring out employee wants, goals and expectations and supporting behaviors, which I already explained. HA shows how to engage a person by looking at some of the specific engagement factor scores. It creates a basis for interaction between the manager and the employee, and consequently, it leads to higher engagement. Another important outcome of this assessment on engagement is it will help you to have a basis for discussions with the individual employee, and also make it very clear to the employee what are the organizational wants which has to be achieved in order for the organization to meet the expectations of the employee. And mind you, this entire analysis comes out in less than 30 minutes, just through an online assessment. HA also identifies mutual and reciprocal factors which are very, very important for optimizing employee engagement. Find out what is important for the employee through the assessment. You can also find out what is important for the organization and what is the gap between the two. Having said this, you will always see in many companies when there is an engagement drive, many times the employees are disengaged from the engagement process because they always think engagement is the responsibility of their manager and they have nothing to contribute. Okay, they have to only cry over the shoulders of the manager in order to get more engagement. But that is not true. Engagement is a two-way process. In Harrison philosophy, we say engagement is mutual and reciprocal. We never give any specific recommendation to clients saying that if there is disengagement or low engagement, the manager has to be fired. No, it is never correct in concluding that, you're not right in concluding that manager is responsible for low engagement, because engagement is a mutual and reciprocal process. Both are contributing to engagement. So the employee should exhibit the required behavior. The employer, the manager, should also reciprocate to make sure that he understands the expectations of the employee, and he also is definite that the employee is exhibiting the required behavior, and accordingly he is able to, or he is willing to bridge the gap and optimize the engagement. And please remember, engagement is not an entitlement of the employee. It is not something like, just because I am hired by this company, you have to engage me. Nobody can engage you. You will have to engage yourself, and you will have to really do it by understanding and exhibiting the behaviors which are expected for every expectation which you have. And as I told you in the beginning, engagement optimization becomes an easy job provided you have been able to hire the people, promote the right people who have a higher level of passion and enjoyment for the job role for which they are being placed. This is a very important requirement. Last but not the least, as I told you, this particular report, there is yet another report through the assessment which you can bring out. One is an individual employee expectations report, and the other one is a team report. That means if you have a team of 100 people working in a department and you feel the engagement level in the department is low, you can quickly find out what is the expected engagement requirement of every employee. Individually, you can find out, and you can also find out collectively what is the percentage of expectations where employees have got a higher number of wants, higher score of wants. So you can do an assessment of the employees. That takes less than 30 minutes, and you can quickly pull out an individual engagement report, which will show you the individual engagement factors and the individual contributing factors. And it will also show you the fulfillment level score in percentage. And when the fulfillment level score is very low, it will show up the score in a red color. And when the fulfillment score is moderate, it will show up the score in an yellow color. And when the fulfillment score is adequately high, it will show it up in a green color. So by just looking at the report, the engagement analysis report, like a doctor at the X-ray. Somebody is talking. Can you unmute the mic, please? So by quickly looking at a report, glancing at the report, you can, like a doctor looking at the X-ray, you can find out where is the problem, and you can also know why there is a problem. And you will also know from the analysis in the report as to what action should be taken from the employee side and from the manager side to address those gaps on it. So with this, I would like to conclude today's session and leave it open for the participants to raise any specific questions which you may have. And another request and announcement I have, which I should have shared with you right in the beginning. Those participants who have attended this session, I would request you to kindly make a note of the email ID which is appearing here. One is kk.ravishankar@yahoo.com, aimansucceed@gmail.com. Please make a note of these two IDs. I would prefer a feedback from you coming on today's session. What are your takeaways and benefits? What is the important inputs you have gained, your benefits and takeaways, and how effective was the session? Please send me a feedback to one of these IDs. And if you are able to send me that feedback, I'm going to, in reply, recognize your effort by giving you a complete set of sample report of Harrison's engagement analysis for your own academic interest and as well as for your own knowledge. I'm going to send you a free sample report which you can take a look at. That will help you to understand what is the structure of this report and what is the content of this report and how the details are presented in the report. And it will be a new knowledge and a new awakening, which I'm sure as a manager, as an employer, or as an HR person, you will really find it useful. So step one, send me a feedback. Step two, I'm going to send you a free sample report, which will show you the full set of Harrison's engagement analysis report. Thank you once again for the opportunity to Trainers Guild and PTS Knowledge Forum. I really enjoy presenting some subjects through webinars in this forum because I find the members are very committed, very, very involved and interactive. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Mohan, for your excellent coordination and cooperation. And thanks to all the participants who have been very patiently attending this webinar. So now it's open for question and answers.
Sir, it's a fantastic session by you.
Thank
Really appreciated. Sir,
Thanks a lot.
can you give this the engagement survey, how we can do it, any form or any format it is there available?
Yeah,
to you?
very much, very much. May I know your good name?
I'm Surendra Sethi.
Okay, you're from?
I'm from Delhi.
Okay. So my request is kindly send me your feedback about today's session in one of the.
Sure.
And once I receive it, I will give you the complete sample reports and procedure how you can deploy this in your organization.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for your nice.
Thank you. Thanks.
Valuable comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, sir. Is your this assessment will helpful to higher blue collar level staffs to senior level?
Absolutely, because in India, you can take the Harrison assessment in 4 languages: Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, and Malayalam. Apart from English.
Sir, as usual, it was a great session by you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gave us a lot of insights.
Thank you.
Reinforcing and learning new concepts. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
So, wonderful program, Mr. Ravi Shankar.
Thank you.
I was really enjoying all the points that everybody will say, what is employee engagement, how to do that, what are the parameters.
Sure.
And one of the word, what I enjoyed, a beautiful word last time is told, that how that performance, passion, engagement comes in a cycle. You said that word which I noted down. Repetition is the mother of skill.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That word I was expecting today you will mention, but somehow you have really done it. The flow and the content, everything was very good, informative as well as very impressive, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Mr. Ravi Shankar, I think there was a query from Ms. Abhirami Padmanabhan. Ms. Abhirami, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please. I believe you had a query.
Please go ahead.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, it was a very wonderful session, sir. Very
Thank you.
knowledge sharing session. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Any other participants, any other questions, you're welcome to shoot it. We'll have another 2-3 minutes to close. We are nearing 9 hours. Any other questions? Okay. So if there are no questions, I think we'll close the session. And I request all the participants, please send me the feedback on the mail ID and I will send you as a compliment from Harrison Assessments, one sample, full set of engagement reports, which will be an eye-opener for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good, sir.
Mr. Ravi Shankar.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I wanted to see if Mr. Arun Subramaniam is present.
Okay.
He may want to speak a few words.
Okay.
Mr. Arun, are you there?
Thank you, Mr. Ravi Shankar.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
As was expected, it was a wonderful session. Thanks a lot. And now, day after tomorrow, we are having Colors and Health by Mr. Anantakrishnan.
Okay.
By Mr. Suresh Ramaratnam. I will request everyone to attend that. And you can be in touch with Mr. Ravi Shankar for any further guidance or insights that you require on employee engagement and retention.
Thank you.
Over to you. Back to you, Mr. Mohan. Thank you.
So, friends, there's some background noise. Okay. So we have this session on 4th of April by Mr. Arun Subramaniam on the very interesting topic, turning failure on its head. It's going to be a slice of his wonderful program on team and teaming. This is being done for the benefit of for all the participatory CNTR community, because we are launching this initiative in a big way, and all the proceeds of Mr. Arun Subramaniam's session will be utilized for the recognition and rewarding of the successful competitors. So I request all of you who are here present to please utilize the link that I have shared in the groups and pay and register for this program, which is scheduled for 4th April, starting at 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Thank you so much for your patronage, and thank you for joining us this evening. We really look forward to have you all again on Saturday for the program on colors and health. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Good day, sir. Thank you. Good night, sir.
Thank you, Mohan, for your support. Bye.
Thank you, Ravi Shankar. Thank you very much. Good day.